Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with Velocity CNC and our CNC router here in our shop. All right, so when your manufacturing process is done and you're ready to take it over to Velocity CNC and you're using Fusion 360, all right, the first thing you want to do is come over to your setup and right-click Post Process. Once there, come on over here and click on this folder and come on down to Fusion 360 Library and try to find the Forest Scientific CNC router. All right, so you want to make sure that you select the CNC router, not the plasma cutter. So go ahead and select the CNC router, hit select, and go ahead and copy it to your posts. All right, and now when you're ready, select your output folder, and you're going to want to save it to a thumb drive so you can transfer it over to the machine. Hit select folder and then select post, and you can go ahead and overwrite it there, and it's all ready to be taken over to the CNC router in the computer at the machine. All right. All right, so once you're at the computer, the first thing you want to do is go ahead and open up Velocity CNC 4. So go ahead and double click on that and hit connect so you can connect to the CNC router. Hit agree to all the safety precautions, and if you ever disconnect, okay, you can come on up here to controller and hit connect. Okay, but right now we're connected, so we're good. All right, once you have Velocity CNC open, let's go ahead and load your G-code program. So you want to go ahead and open G-code and search for your file here. So I'm going to go to my USB thumb drive and I'm going to search for this file here and select open. And once it opens, you should see something like this with all your tool paths and etc. All right, so once you have your G-code file open, you'll see all of your G-code over here in the bottom left corner of your screen. All right, and if we click on G-code here, all right, we have all of these options. Well, I'm going to go through them very quickly. Well, jump to line means we can jump to any line of our G-code here. We can select jump to line, click on the line, and select go. All right. Now our feed rate here, we can adjust our feed rate. We can override it by coming over here and making it slower, like 50, or increasing it to like 200. Okay. Or we can just use these faster or slower buttons here. Okay. Now this is very important. Okay. If you ever want to stop your G-code, select this feed hold button down here. Okay. That'll stop the machine. All right. It will not turn off your spindle though. All right. So, but it will stop the spindle from moving, okay, in the X, Y, and Z direction. And then if we want to start our G-code, we simply select start here. All right. And then if we want to bring our G-code back to the beginning, we can select reset. All right, so moving on, now let's go over to the jog option here. And the jog option is just like it sounds. You can jog the spindle in whichever direction you like. So the doors must be closed, and you can jog the machine in a fast, medium, or slow pace, or you can set the jog to increments, 0.1, 0.01, 0.001, and of course there's a feed hold button to stop. So positive X will move the spindle to the right, and negative X will move the spindle to the left. Okay, and negative Y will move it towards you, and positive Y will move it away from you, and Z will move the tool or spindle up, okay, and Z negative will move the spindle down. All right, so moving on here to the point option here. Now the point will allow you to basically move to any point in the XYZ Cartesian coordinate system. All right, moving on over here, now the home. Home will move it to the machine's home in the X, Y, and Z option. There is fast home, and there's basically kind of a seek home, which is kind of slower. All right, and of course, as always, there's a feed hold button to stop it. Okay, so I always recommend homing it just the X and Y and not the Z. Okay, all right. So moving on, let's come over here to the auxiliary, and auxiliary will turn your spindle on or off. All right, and if I press the spindle button, it'll turn the spindle on. And if I press the same button, it'll turn the spindle off.
All right, and when you're using a CNC router, most CNC routers utilize what's called a spoiler board. It's a piece of low density board placed on top of the main board underneath. And this spoiler board is used to protect the board underneath from getting damaged. All right, so before you proceed, always check to make sure that your spoiler board here is properly clamped, okay, to the board underneath so it doesn't move at all. It's clamped and stable. Now, before you run your G code, you always want to make sure that your workpiece is secured to the table or platform here. So in this case, I have a 3D printed custom fixture that I made, okay, for this block. But sometimes you're going to want to secure your workpiece to the spoil board. Sometimes you can just screw it in. Sometimes you can tape it. There's clamps and other sorts of fixtures that you can use. But for this particular project, for my students, we use this 3D printed fixture. And if you are my students, what you want to do now is press this guy on, turn the vacuum on down below, okay, and then tighten these screws first, okay, so it's backed up against this corner, and then tighten this screw next, and then lastly tighten this screw, okay, and then give a little tug on your workpiece and just make sure it's in there and secured and it's not coming out. All right, and when you're ready to do work offsets, okay, I always recommend putting in a pointing tool, all right, and using that pointing tool as best as you can, all right, jog to the location of your X, Y, and Z work coordinate system with that pointing tool. Once you've done this, come back to the computer, come up here to the top right hand corner, go set 0x, select OK, come back over and do set 0y and select OK. Now to set my Z offset in my tool length, I'm going to take the pointing tool out, and I'm going to grab the tool that I want to use for this operation, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put it here in the collet spindle and get it about something like this, so that about half of the shank or so, or a little more than half of the shank is in the collet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tighten it with these two wrenches. Next, go ahead and grab this metal bar here and place it on your workpiece. Okay, go ahead and close the doors. Come back over to the computer. Come to set, and then come on down to sense Z0. Okay, and what that's going to do is it's going to move the tool down to the metal bar we just put on there, and it's going to sense your tool height. And it takes a second because it moves very slowly. And now our tool length is measured. Now, if you don't have the metal bar that I just showed you, the other option is to use a piece of paper and slide it between your tool and your workpiece, okay? And then go ahead and close the doors so you can jog. And then you're going to want to come over here and use the 0.001 step, okay, and move it down here, Z. Move your tool down and keep moving it down slowly. Keep pressing Z, and then come back and check your paper. And you know it's just right when there's a little bit of tension on the paper. So it's still a little loose. Okay, so I'm going to come back, shut my doors. Come back and drop it down just a few more fractions of an inch here. And now that should be good. I'm going to come back. And it's just right. Okay, you can pull your paper back and forth and you can feel the tension on it. And then once that's done, come back to your computer, go to set and select 0Z, not sense Z0, but 0Z. Okay, and then hit OK.
All right, so once you've made sure that your workpiece is secured and it's adequately clamped down and will not come out, and your work and tool offsets are set up correctly, next thing you want to do is run your G code. So come on over here and select G code. All right, so when you're ready to run your G code, go ahead and select start. However, at first, I would run it a little slowly. I would set it to like 50 or 25, okay? And then once that's done, go ahead and select start and start running your G code. And before you start it though, move your mouse over to this feed hold key and be ready to stop it, okay, in case something bad happens. So go ahead and start it whenever you're ready. All right, and once you've established that your part is secure and everything's running okay, you can come up and change it back to 100. All right, and let's go ahead and start it and we'll go. All right, and when you're all done, all of your lines here, your toolpath lines will be blue. And when you're done, just go ahead and reset your G code or X out of the program. Okay, and that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.